Series 2. The Mysterious Violinist. Genre: Fantasy Family Drama. Copyright: independently published August 13, 2025. Author: Dr. Sheree E. Love, PhD. Table of Content. 1. Episode 4 Violinist has arrived. 2. Episode 5 Event at the Johnny. 3. Episode 6 Chamber Orchestra and the Violinist. Episode 4 Violinist has arrived. After arriving at the Miami International Airport, the violinist, with his assistant Manuel having his luggage in hand, they entered a black and gold Rolls-Royce Phantom GTA 4 limo from the Garnet Luxury Yacht Company as the driver held the door. Driven to the Catalina Hotel where he checked in. "Mr. Ezra, can I get you anything to drink at this time?" the butler had asked. "No," replied Sebastian. His assistant had already left and would not be needed anymore for the day. Sebastian Ezra is an heir to Ezra Mining Company. He is an established gemologist who works for his family's company as the head of his department. Born on the island of Bimini where he still resides with his family. His first love is the violin, and he performs with a dark green sash with a gold strip going across the middle, with a gold pendant that has the family insignia on it surrounded by opals. Sebastian does not talk about his family business or his role in the company. He keeps that part of his life private. Owners of a hotel chain were giving the party the Vascos, with the invited guest being the Garnet Luxury Yacht Company, Cedar Yacht Club and the Windsor Yacht Club. Among other guests would also be the owner of Zinfandel Winery franchise, Mr. Vasco and Mrs. Vasco arrived at the Johnny, the former Versace mansion, to meet with the event planner. "Good afternoon," Leo Owen said to Mr. and Mrs. Vasco. "Good afternoon," they both replied after entering the Johnny. Mr. Owen had seen them exiting a Rolls-Royce Phantom GTA 4 limo after their driver had opened the door. Mr. Vasco had covered his eyes, wearing a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses with black slacks and a white and black half-button-up long-sleeve shirt on. Mrs. Vasco exited the limo wearing a red, white and yellow sleeveless two-piece skirt suit. She also covered her eyes with a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses. Mr. Owen, their event planner, handed both Mr. and Mrs. Vasco a clipboard which had two check-off lists for them to check off any new changes they would like to add at an X for anything they felt had not been completed. Beginning their walk through, Mr. Owen said to Mr. and Mrs. Vasco, "This way please," as he motioned for them with his left hand. Eleanor asked, "Is there something specific you want to look at first?" "I will be your assistant today," she said as she walked towards Evelyn and Lynette upon entering the Webster. "We would like to look at formal dresses," Jean replied. As she was walking towards the assistant with Marion and Rosalind walking alongside her. The assistant said hello Miss Garnet to Marion as she had assisted her once before. Marion replied hello. "Are you all shopping together today?" Eleanor asked. "Yes," they replied, and Eleanor introduced herself. "Right this way ladies," with violin music playing as Eleanor was walking with them in the direction where the formal dresses could be found. With an array of dresses to choose from, a long black flowing gown with sliver glittery flowers going down a split on the left side caught Marion's eye. "You have a very impressive assortment of dresses and I would like to find one in royal blue," Evelyn said to Eleanor. as Eleanor was looking at Jean sliding one dress after another on the rack. "Sure, I can help you with that. One moment please," Eleanor replied. Marian said, "I am sure this is the style I am looking for. Can I go to the dressing room now?" "Yes," Eleanor replied and walked towards Evelyn to assist her. While Rosalind and Jean were discussing the issues they were concerned with about two dresses they were holding, Marian walked out of the dressing room of the Webster, wanting others' opinion of the dress. Jean looked at Marian as she made a short walk with a turn from left to right, and told Marian, "That dress is a beautiful choice." "Thank you," Marian replied as she looked around, and out came her mother Lynette, with her Aunt Evelyn right behind her. Marian said to them, "You two look beautiful," as she headed back to the dressing room. "Thank you," Evelyn and Lynette replied, and began talking with Eleanor. Jean walked out and asked Eleanor if she could find the dress in one size smaller. "Yes," Eleanor replied, and Evelyn and Lynette looked at Jean and said to Eleanor, "We will get our dress ready for you to bag up." After arriving home to the bed and breakfast boathouse, Jean was walking around in her suite wanting nothing more than to relax in a tub full of bubbles. So she did, with a bottle of red wine while listening to soul violinist Omari Dillard. Marian had placed her dress she had just purchased on a rack in her suite and turned on R&B music. Marian felt it was best to get a little rest before it was time to get ready for the party that evening. Calvin was already out for the count, dreaming away after he went right to his bed, hanging up his three-piece suit after arriving home. Rosalind, still living with her parents, went right home with her mother Evelyn. Mr. Moore was entertaining a friend of his that just arrived in town on business when the two of them had arrived home. Mr. and Mrs. Garnett are relaxing, embracing each other as they unwind and enjoy a movie, with the security team doing their rounds and checking the security system. The head chef is going over the list of items needed to be purchased tomorrow. The housekeepers have left for the day and the butler will be the only one around besides the security team when Mr. and Mrs. Garnett leave out for the evening. Carlton's date for the evening has arrived at the Garnett Luxury Yacht Club. Entering at the private entrance, he had asked that two people from the security team bring her up to his third-floor suite. He greeted her at the entrance of his suite. Episode 5. Event at the Johnny. Not to overshadow the guest when they were arriving, wanting a special distinguishing feature, the event planner Leo Owen wanted the music to start after the first guest has entered the Johnny, as the sunset just being at 8:13 p.m. before nightfall. The light to the outside of the Johnny were turned on, showing the elegance of the property. With valet parking and the security team in position, the guests started arriving. The host of the event, the Vascos, were near the entrance being greeted by their event planner, who would be there until the end of the event, to answer any questions if needed and to receive his payment. The chamber orchestra had already arrived with their composer, being dropped off in a Chrysler 300 stretch limo. Sebastian Ezra, the mysterious violinist, had arrived at the same time as the members of his chamber, in a black and gold Rolls-Royce Phantom GTA 4 limo. The balcony on the second floor of the Johnny, from their sitting position, gave them the full view of the event hall. Being informed that the first guest has entered the Johnny, the chamber began to play Eternal Eclipse, a beautiful dramatic violin orchestra music mix. Showing their invitations, 5 guests from Zinfandel Winery franchise were the first to enter and the orchestra began to play. Carlton and his date for the evening were just a few steps behind, after exiting a 1953 Rolls-Royce Silver Dawn limo. Pulling up in a black Rolls-Royce Phantom GTA 4 limo was his parents, Mr. Alex Garnett and Mrs. Lynette Garnett, along with his sister Marion. Commenting on the Doris Rain crystal branch chandeliers as she was walking in the direction of the event hall. Lynette had stopped for a moment after entering, to look up at the dimmable Empire chandelier hanging from the ceiling in the center of the room of the event hall as she was talking to Marion. Mr. Garnett had made his way to the table to be seated, when walks in his sister-in-law Evelyn with her husband Thomas. "Good evening," Marion said to her uncle Mr. Nichols as Lynette and Evelyn greeted each other. "Good evening, Marion," her uncle Thomas had replied, as Rosalind was just only a few moments behind her parents. Being the last one to exit from a majestic masterpiece of luxury, the 2025 white Rolls-Royce Phantom GTA 4 limo. Making their way to their tables, just as 36 guests had been seated, Mr. Garnett noticed his parents Jocelyn Garnett and Frank Garnett along with 3 of their grandchildren, Marcus, Jean and Calvin. Marcus had been the last one to be picked up. They had arrived in a white Rolls-Royce Phantom GTA 4 limo. Entering the event hall just as the waiters had started walking around offering the guest Louise Roeder or Crystal Vinothek Brut champagne. With all guests seated and admiring the decor, 10 tables with 5 of them on each side of the room seating 4 people per table. Placed with a decorative hurricane pillar centerpiece, that has a candle holder. With radiant purple roses and luscious lavender roses that also has nicely placed bloomed house white oriental lilies. Everyone was engaged in conversation, as the party planner decided to walk by one of the entrances to the event hall to see how things were going, just as Mr. and Mrs. Vasco's had the music stopped and asked the guest for their attention. "My husband and I thank you for coming this evening and want you all to have a great time and enjoy yourselves this evening," Mrs. Vasco said. Then Mr. Vasco said to the guest, "If you have any requests, please ask the waiting staff, thank you," before turning the microphone off. Servers began bringing the main course, as the music continued to play. The 3-course meal being served for dinner for the evening would be 2 grilled lobster tails with a baked potato along with 2 dinner rolls as the main course. Second course dinner to be served, chicken lo mein mi fun mixed with vegetables and noodles that also include crab rangoon filled with cream and crab. Sliced sushi rolls that are seaweed wrapped with marinated short rib beef, rice, cheddar cheese and avocado inside, with 3 dipping sauces. Will be the 3rd course dinner for the evening. As the champagne continued to pour and guests were enjoying their dinner, no one had any idea that Sebastian Zara would be performing that evening. The event was going quite well, as some of the guests were meeting new people and sharing contact information. Jean, Rosalyn and Marion had stepped out to the ladies' room, with a couple of male guests greeting them as they passed by them on their way back into the event hall. Leaving the ladies' room returning to the event hall, Marion noticed that the music had changed. The chamber was now playing 50 Vink Way of the Warrior chart aggressive instrumental banger beats. Not seated at the same table, the three of them had went in the direction where their table was. Going back to her seat, she saw that one of the guests was not at the table. As she began to reach for her chair, she heard a man's voice. "Let me get that for you." Marian turned around and looked at the gentleman and replied thank you as he pulled the chair out for her to sit down. After sitting down, she did not recognize Sebastian as being the guest at her table, who she found to be absent at that moment. Being offered more champagne as the servers began placing the second course dinner down at her table. Marian glanced around the room while drinking a glass of Dom Perignon Enethec Champagne Rose. Having a look, she saw that the guest had returned to their seat, and realized he had pulled her chair out for her. She thought of the scent of his cologne and continued with dinner and the pleasant flavor of champagne. Episode 6. Chamber Orchestra and the Violinist. With the waiting staff walking around and the champagne being offered by the servers, Mr. Owen walked in the event hall, standing to the side, to view the guest as the lights were being turned down. At this time, the decorative lights illuminated from the Doris Rain crystal branch chandeliers and filled the room, as the dimmable Empire chandelier sparking effect covered the dance floor as it hanged in the center. The guest heard a hard epic beat from the chamber orchestra. It appeared that everyone looked up at the orchestra sitting in the balcony. They continued on with the chamber playing Mammoth Beat, hard epic rap beat hip-hop instrumental by Heckbeat producers. A light shined on the brass staircase leading from the balcony to the event hall. A gentleman was standing there wearing a white shirt with a long-sleeved black shirt on top of it and black pants. Also wearing a sash around his waist that is dark green with a gold stripe in the center, and a pendant that is gold in appearance with a green stone that has an insignia on top of it with opals going round it. Sebastian Zara. He was playing the violin, with him pausing waiting to hear his part of the music to play. He was able to start slowly walking his way to the center of the dance floor, and Sebastian continued to play his violin with the chamber orchestra while he was standing there. All the guests were filled with excitement watching the violinist play his violin so up close and personal. The guests at Marian's table did not take their eyes off of the violinist as he continued to play. Marian had turned her head looking at the unoccupied seat at her table. Marian was not sure if he was the violinist. His clothing did not appear to be the same, seeing that the violinist was wearing a sash. Marian just continued to enjoy listening to the instrumental as the violinist played along with the chamber orchestra, while she was drinking her glass of Dom Perignon Enethec Champagne Rose. As the end of the song the chamber was playing stopped, Sebastian Zara paused as the guests applauded, turning around, leaving out an entrance near the brass staircase. The chamber orchestra began to play music. Sebastian, after changing his clothing, had returned to the event and stayed the remainder of the evening. He was only scheduled to perform once with his chamber. Last course was being served after Sebastian had returned to his seat carrying his glass of Dom Perignon Enethec Champagne Rose that was offered to him by one of the servers. Some of them were having a conversation with each other as they were enjoying the music and the last course for dinner. For the evening, Camilla Zinfandel is an accounting executive for the Zinfandel Winery franchise. A professional who is the point of contact for the franchise, managing the company and the client relationship and driving sales by attracting clients. Receiving a phone called, "Excuse me for a brief moment please," Camilla said to those at her table and removed herself from the table, walking away, leaving out an entrance that leads her to the outside deck that overlooks a beautiful flower bed with a walkway. Returning to her call and in a deep conversation with someone she was going to marry. "What?" Camilla screamed, not knowing that her old love interest was just minutes away. He had seen her leave out and Austin Cedar wanted to talk with her and hire to Cedar Yacht Club. Austin and Camilla relationship had ended because her family wanted someone for her who was in the wine business. If the wine business goes out of business, they would still have the land for other financial opportunities. As Austin walked out onto the outside deck, he could see that Camilla was crying while she was holding her cell phone. Austin did hear her scream. Camilla turned around and saw Autism walking towards her. "Don't call me," Camilla said with a loud voice as she ended the call. "Can I help?" Austin asked Camilla. "No. No one can, it's just a real mess right now," Camilla replied with tears in her eyes. Austin put his arms around Camilla and she did not stop Austin from comforting her. "Tell me what's wrong," he said to Camilla as he began wiping her tears away. Austin showing empathy seeing Camilla in such a state at the event. He wanted nothing more than to help her and clear up the matter. "My wedding is scheduled and I have my dress already. Austin, everything is paid for. My fiancé Patrick just told me he is married to someone he had been dating for 3 months. They got married in London." Austin kept his remarks to him and just listened to Camilla telling Lufum what had happened. He didn't want people to start coming out onto the outside deck before he was able to try and clear the matter up. "I don't want to tell everyone what has happened," Camilla said. Austin, holding Camilla's hand and getting down on one knee, Austin for the second time asked Camilla if she would marry him. Camilla looked at Austin, wiping a tear away, said, "Yes, Austin, I will marry you." He stood up and said, "All right then, you and I will use all the arrangements that are already in place. But I will replace the groomsmen. We won't tell anyone and they will see that you will be married." Austin continued on and said, "As for our parents, they will not come between us. Our marriage will be a contract marriage, stating you and I will be married forever with there being no divorce." Camilla embraced Austin, giving him a kiss, and the two of them returned inside as if nothing had happened, with Camilla making her way to the ladies' room to freshen up and Austin walked back into the event hall to be seated at his table.